There is one simple habit that can completely change the trajectory of your life. Not slowly, not in some abstract distant future, but in a way where after a few years, you clearly see a line between who you were before and who you became after. I call this habit the kaizen hour. The idea itself comes from a Japanese philosophy called kaizen, which is built around the principle of constant improvement. The philosophy is simple, but powerful. Everything can be improved. People can improve. Systems can improve. Businesses can improve. Processes can improve. Nothing is ever finished or perfect. Everything can become a little better tomorrow than it was today. The reason I call it the kaizen hour is because every day I dedicate a single hour specifically to this idea of improvement. Every morning I wake up, usually go for a walk first to clear my mind, and then I sit down for that 1 hour. What I discovered over time is something very surprising. The biggest progress in my life doesn't actually come from the actions I perform throughout the day. It comes from the decisions I make during that one focused hour. Those decisions shape everything that follows. During that hour, I ask myself very direct questions. What exactly needs to improve in my life right now? What can I do better than yesterday? What can I simplify? What can I do faster, more efficiently, or with less energy? Where am I wasting time? What can be automated? What can be delegated? What skills do I need to learn next? What system should I redesign? That hour is not about doing work. It is about thinking about how the work itself should be done. And the interesting part is that the decisions made during that hour have a multiplying effect over time. You could compare it to compound interest. Just like money invested in the right way grows year after year, the improvements you design during that hour accumulate and amplify over time. The reason this works is because during that hour, I write things down. I create my own algorithms and personal systems, and those systems become tools that save time in the future. Think of it like this. Imagine you spend 15 or 20 years climbing a tree. You climb higher and higher, branch by branch, investing years of effort, and then suddenly you realize that the branch you chose leads nowhere. Maybe it breaks, maybe it was the wrong direction. You fall. For many people, that moment feels like the end. They believe they no longer have another 15 or 20 years of energy to climb again. But when you have a clear algorithm for how you climbed that tree in the first place, the situation changes completely. Because now you understand the structure, you understand which branches led you forward and which ones led to dead ends. With that knowledge, you don't need another 20 years to return to where you were before. You might need 2 years, maybe even less. And suddenly failure is no longer a disaster. It becomes information. I sometimes joke that a successful person is someone who consumes events and converts them into resources. Life constantly throws events at us. Meetings happen, conversations happen, mistakes happen, opportunities appear and disappear. The difference between effective people and ineffective people is simple. Effective people transform those events into something useful. Ineffective people simply experience them and move on. For example, imagine you meet someone and spend an hour talking, but the conversation is empty. You talk about random topics, complain about politics, discuss things you cannot influence. At the end of the meeting, nothing changes. You simply lost an hour. But imagine the same meeting goes differently. Instead of random conversation, you talk sincerely. You discuss real projects, real opportunities, real actions. Maybe you inspire the person. Maybe you motivate them. Maybe you simply connect in a meaningful way. What happened then? That 1 hour produced something valuable. You gained a relationship. You created a connection. And now there is another person in the world thinking about what they might build or accomplish together with you. That is a resource. The same thing applies to mistakes. Suppose you make a mistake. Something goes wrong. Many people simply move forward without analyzing what happened. The mistake repeats later, again and again. But if you pause and create a clear algorithm explaining what caused the mistake and how to prevent it next time, the situation changes. That written algorithm becomes a resource. Why? because it saves time in the future. You no longer need to waste energy repeating the same failure. In life, we should not be afraid of mistakes themselves. Mistakes are inevitable when you try new things. But there are two types of mistakes that should worry you. The first type is a mistake with irreversible consequences, the kind of decision that cannot be undone. The second type is a mistake that repeats over and over again because you never stop to understand it. The kaizen hour helps eliminate both of these dangers, because during that hour you examine your actions and sharpen your approach to everything you do. There is another way to understand this idea. Imagine a woodcutter who spends every hour of the day chopping wood. Day after day, he swings the axe, trying to cut more trees, believing that constant effort is the only path to productivity. But if that same woodcutter spent 1 hour each day sharpening his axe, the results would be dramatically different. The sharper the axe becomes, the less effort is required to cut the tree. The same principle applies to your life and work. The kaizen hour is like sharpening the axe. It acts as a lever that multiplies the effectiveness of every other hour in your day. Imagine someone works 8 hours per day. If they invest 1 hour improving how those hours are used, the remaining 7 hours might produce the results of 14 hours, 20 hours, sometimes even 30 hours of effort. That single hour becomes the most powerful lever in the entire system. And the best part is that this habit is not complicated. It does not require special knowledge or expensive tools. All it requires is the discipline to pause each morning and think intentionally about how your life and work can become more effective. Even 30 minutes can make a difference. When you dedicate time to designing better systems, improving your decisions, and learning from your experiences, the impact accumulates year after year. Eventually, you look back and realize something remarkable. Your life divided into two clear periods: the time before you began this habit, and the time after everything started to compound in your favor.